Welcome everybody to our second Minisode. It is your Minisode Pod Kings. I'm Jordan Hirsch. That is Francis Donald. We have Wayne. We have Sean. And we are ready for the second Minisode of the Time and Space podcast. We're excited. We're very excited to spend this Wednesday evening with you. And we're going to start off like we always start off with a fit check. Francis, what do you have going today?
So last couple of weeks I've had on the positively masculine garb. Took it down a notch this week. For those of you who don't know, I've been fortunate enough for the last couple of years to be a Lululemon ambassador, which means that I get access to a lot of their apparel. So I'm wearing some Lululemon, a long sleeve, very breathable 4-way stretch called the Dry Sense long sleeve. I've got on a sleeveless hoodie that's super comfortable. It's got one of the pockets that goes all the way through. And then my khaki hat. Love a good khaki hat.
When I say it's a family business, I really do mean it. It's our family business. Francis and my wife, Jen, both very involved in Lululemon. It's worked out really well for me, to be honest. I don't have to put in any of the work, and I get a lot of the perks. So I do appreciate that. I am wearing the East Dillon Lions State Championship t-shirt, another Friday Night Lights tribute, one of my favorite shows and movies. So I wanted to wear my East Dillon Lions t-shirt today, and a random Cleveland baseball hat that I got on sale. I don't like this team, but I got it on sale, and I'm impartial to Cleveland. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't like them. I don't watch a lot of baseball. I like the Yankees, I guess, if you had to make me watch. But there was red in the hat and there's red in the shirt. I wanted to make it work.
So you're rewatching? Are you rewatching Friday Night Lights currently, or is it
no
something you go back to?
Yes, right. So it's something I go back to occasionally. I've watched it through probably 3 times at this point. Most recently, right before the school year started for me, and that's what made me buy some T-shirts and get back into it. But
you know
it's
what
hard
I'm
not to
watching
like
right now?
that show.
I haven't told you this. The Crown. The Crown. It's on Netflix. You know, it's about the Elizabeth Windsor, Queen Elizabeth, and how she became queen and her life as the queen. Just started season 2, actually. It's very good. It's historical fiction.
So you like it enough to go to season 2? Okay.
Yeah. No, it's a little slow and it's a little dry, as you know. Sometimes those historical fiction can be, but at the same time, I think what drives my interest is learning. Not that I think that everything that I'm learning is 100% true, because I know it's not, but I like to learn about things that have happened in the past. And it's interesting too, because as we were growing up, Prince Charles, Princess Diana, William and Harry, those things are very topical for us. So it's seeing the backstory of their family as well.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Well, now that you're saying that, Jen did watch it, and I popped in on it a couple times, and it did seem very interesting. And you'll have to fill me in on it, because I don't know that I will watch it. But
Fair enough.
You'll have to fill in the blanks for me. We had a great conversation with Coach Randall last week, and we've gotten some really nice feedback about that episode, mostly from folks that we went to school with, and others that just enjoyed the conversation. And if you do want to see that conversation or listen to that conversation and any others that we've had, any minisodes or full episodes and various clips and content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We appreciate all the support we've gotten so far, and we hope that you're enjoying it. And if you enjoy it as much as we do, keep listening. We're going to
Is this where we say, please
content.
Click the button in the bottom left-hand corner, even though it's not yet there? right?
That's right. Yeah, you know what? I was trying to think of what a real YouTuber would say, and I couldn't figure it
Like and
out.
subscribe.
Yeah, what he said. Do that. So anyway, taking that trip down memory lane and talking about a lot of different things with our coach, Coach Randall. It got me thinking about game day, and on game day, that feeling you get when you wake up. Again, that changes. You can play lacrosse forever. That changes a lot once you leave that high school locker room, college locker room. What your game day feels like. If you have a summer league game, I don't know that you wake up, go to your day job with those tinglies, get ready for that 7 p.m. summer league game in White Plains an hour away. Like, you're not getting that same vibe. But I was thinking about game day, and it got me thinking about routines and all the things that play a role in the dynamics of the pregame, what you do when you wake up on that game day, what is your daily schedule. I guess I was thinking more of like a weekend game when you don't have class. And
Right.
I think that relates to high school and college, and I guess to youth level too. Who's more excited than a young kid to play a Saturday game? I doubt anybody.
Nobody. Literally
So
nobody.
nobody. So in thinking about those game day routines, I also thought about when I get up and go to work, I still kind of try and have that routine to get my mind right. I also started thinking about, is there an over exaggeration of a routine where maybe you think so much about it that if something went wrong or something went different, maybe not even wrong, does it totally kill your vibe for the next thing? And that's what I wanted to dive in a little bit tonight. So I want to pose this question. Game day, just generally, when you were a player, game day, what was your routine?
Definitely a little bit different when we're talking about home games, away games, but um, in general, I'm up. I don't sleep in. There's no sleeping in for me on a game day. You know, I'm wound up, and not nervous wound up. I'm just focused. So what I started doing when we had home games is I would get up, and the first thing I would do is I would take my stick, which I had brought back to the dorm with me before game day, because you sleep not necessarily in my bed. I was a long stick, but I put it in the room. I'd grab it. I'd go in the gym and I'd hit the wall in the gym for a few minutes, or we would hit the wall in the gym, or go shoot. Right, we'd have a little wake up sesh, and I was one piece of my routine that I wish I had done a better job with was nourishment, pregame nourishment. And I did not eat enough. Some days, if our game was early enough, I wouldn't eat at all because I didn't like the feeling of having anything in my stomach. What I should have done was found something that was light that would give me some energy.
100%.
I also had some physical issues. I had bad hips. I was always getting work done. So my routine actually started with me walking down to the stadium with my headphones on, usually listening to the Killers, and changing out and going straight to the gym to ride the bike for 10 minutes and then go in and heat for 10 minutes and then get stretched for 10 minutes before I could even do anything athletic. Like, that was my routine. So my routine actually involved Mike Fay, who was our athletic trainer. And the weird thing was, right, you talk about being super dependent on your routine. If Mike wasn't the guy that like stretched me out, then I didn't feel good about where I was going into the game. So I told him this and I was like, listen, what do I have to do to make sure that like you're the guy? Because we built this relationship based on him knowing what I need to be ready for the game. And so when I didn't get that interaction or that soft touch, then I felt a little off. So that was my routine.
So to put it in context, Like I go to the same barber that I've gone to since I'm 15, so like 20 years, right? Because I have a big forehead and my hair's receding, so I need to make sure that he like sweeps it the right way.
Mm.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I'm wearing this. You wear a hat, then I don't have to worry about it. So, but going to work, I need to make sure my hair's right. Same thing for you. For you to play the right way in the game, you needed to get with Mike, make sure that he was the one who is basically working with you because he knew how you were going to best stretch.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew my body. He knew it just as well as I did because he listened to me tell him about, how I was feeling. So every once in a while, we had great student athletic trainers. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with our other athletic trainers. It was just that consistency that I was looking for, that I felt I needed.
And isn't that everything with the routine? You just want some consistency. You want that
Right?
continuity. So when I think about my routine, and I remember taking those walks with you down to the stadium from our dorm room and getting into the gym, getting some shots in early. I always wanted to make sure I could get out on the field a little bit beforehand, just by myself or with there a couple other guys that were around, just so I could dial in a little bit. And then the locker room part was big for me. I wanted to make sure that everything was there. I was very forgetful. Well, I say was. I can be very forgetful. So routines have really helped me to remember what I need, right? We always talk about the double check, triple check with your equipment. So you do the check as you're leaving the locker room, make sure you have everything. You do the check when you get to the bus, and you put it in, and then you get on the bus and then run back down and triple check it, right? That's how I would do it anyway. So for me, being there early was important so that if I did forget something, I could get back to the dorm or get to wherever I needed to get to and make sure I had it to be on time. So being there early was part of my routine, and it was important to me.
And you could
Music
almost say
definitely played.
that. Oh, sorry. No, I was just
No,
going to say that you could almost say that maybe the best routine is to only have a routine that you can control, right? So instead
yes.
of starting your routine an hour and a half before the game, maybe you condense your routine so you know that you're going to get it in and do it the way that you want it.
Give a quick story. When we were freshmen in college, and I was obsessive. I was a firm believer in like obsessive luck. Like I had to do this, this, and this in order to get this when I was in high school. I don't know why. It's probably just part of the growth process. I just figured, well, if I didn't do this day and I didn't get this, that was why. It had nothing to do with the
Easy
playing.
answer.
It was everything else. Right. Well, it's a simple answer, and I was a simple guy in high school.
Easier math, right?
Yes. Yeah. 1 + 1 = 2. So what ends up happening is as freshmen in college, we started off really strong. I think we had won a bunch of games, and I had developed this routine that became so obsessive where I was recounting, okay, I put this shoe on first last game and this sock on second, and then I put this shoe on and I put my shorts on after my jersey. And I was getting to that point where it was hard to remember. And
Right.
like I said, I'm forgetful. It's hard to remember what I was doing game by game. And I wanted to be consistent. Eventually, we lost a game. And I assumed, like, in my 18-year-old head, I put the sock on wrong. Like, I did the wrong order of my clothes. Like, that's why. It had nothing to do. And then I think not too long after that, I realized I didn't even play in the game. As a freshman, I wasn't even getting in. So my effect on the actual game had nothing to do with my routine and what was going on before the game. The only impact I was going to have in the game is how much energy I could give from the sideline, and that was it. So once I realized that, I did exactly what you were talking about, which was I tried to make my pregame routine all things I could control, and getting there early was something I could control. getting some extra work in was something I could control, so that if I ever did get to play someday, which ended up happening, I'd be ready, right? And then focusing during the game to get a really good warm up in, because that was as warm as I was going to get, and giving energy from the sideline, so being supportive. Once that happened, so much, it felt like a weight was lifted. There was so much anxiety I had about my pregame routine that I didn't realize until it was gone. And I guess the point in saying this is we need to put our efforts into A, things we can control, like you said, and B, the task at hand. Although your pregame routine is important because it puts you in a good mindset, it is not the task. The task is what comes after the pregame. So that's where your energy and effort
Very true.
would be better served.
There's also an element there of emotional flexibility.
Yes.
And that is, you're learning that in your pregame routine. You're learning that during the game as well. But that is something that the older you become, the more and more that becomes the case. Because as you start adding in things that you need to do, obligations, responsibilities, you have less and less control over every minute of your life, right? And I think that's why a routine like music comes into play, because even if you have 5 minutes, you can turn on a song that can help you frame your mindset. Or meditation comes into play. Even if you have 3 minutes, you can close your eyes, turn a light off, sit still, and recenter yourself. And I think there's a lot of focus on that now as we get older.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that it's part of the maturity process. And I don't say, young players, you can't be obsessed with doing this, this, and this. I'm not saying that in a critical way. I'm just saying from my own experience to younger players and as a coach, seeing kids get so wound up over certain things that really don't have an impact on the game, but more on their mindset. It just relieves that pressure when you focus on things you can control and the things that are really worth your effort and energy. So that's more of hopefully a teaching point and learning point. I remember one time having a team that I changed one drill in a warm-up. One drill. It was a high school team I was coaching. I thought we needed a little more fire, so I changed one drill that had a little more competitiveness during our warm-up. And we ended up losing, or it was close. And, in reflecting after that game, we had a team conversation, and one of the kids said, when you changed that drill on us, we really didn't like it. That really put us in a bad place to compete. And my first thought was like, are these kids kidding me? That was my first thought. Like, I changed one drill. Are they kidding me? And my next thought was, okay, I understand where your heads are at. And I was a young coach at the time. I think I wish that I maybe would have relayed a message, and I don't actually remember if I did, but I'm sure I didn't relay it as well as I could have, that sometimes we have to have that emotional flexibility and be able to adapt in order to improve. And whether that's a change in your drill or a small change in your routine, it shouldn't affect the grand outcome of the game if you're focused on the right things.
Yeah. And then kids, you just have to know your kids too, because I've done certain things like that as a coach. And, sometimes it manifests itself more in you make a shift in your personnel, right? It's like, oh, you're starting instead of this kid. And, these guys are in high school, and it's like their identity is wrapped up in all of this, and they don't have the resiliency yet to be able to work through that scenario. The guy you're putting on the bench and the guy that you're putting on the field, neither one of them can handle that sort of change just before the game.
Right.
And so understanding that as your players develop mental flexibility, emotional flexibility, or resiliency, right? Understanding how important it is to communicate the why behind what you're doing so that they fully understand. That's a mistake that I've made.
For sure. And I think, obviously in hindsight, we can make corrections. What do we do? You and I, we talk about this stuff so consistently that with the hope that we don't make that mistake again, or that we just read the situation a little bit more in depth and not make emotional, impulsive decisions, even though they are inevitable at times. That's just what sports do. They evoke emotion unlike any other. Let me ask you this. Do you think things have changed a little bit? I've seen it, but I don't know if it's everywhere. What I see mostly is kids listen to stuff on their own in their own headphones before games.
Yeah.
Not exactly a thing when we were in high school, and not even really in college. Maybe on the bus, I guess people would go headphones.
Yeah. You had your bus moments. I had a compact disc player for probably the first 3 years in college before I got my first, what are they called? iPods. But I remember that Chad, our buddy Chad Amadon, and I both had an affinity for the Killers, a particular song called Smile Like You Mean It. And it was part of our routine and he had one of those splitters, and we would both plug in and we would listen to the same song.
Yep.
Just that one song. That's all we needed. And once we got that in, like, we were good. We were good to go. But yeah, I think when we were in the locker room, there wasn't a lot of individual headphones in. We were all listening to the same stuff.
Yes.
And one of the coolest things about our experience is that when we went to Nazareth, there were already a collection of songs that were tabbed as like pregame music once we got out onto the field. You know, we would listen to The Who, we would listen to Nas, we would listen to Bob Dylan, you know, this like huge spectrum of music that it was weird because at first we were like, what the hell is this? Like, we don't like this. And then we were like, this is awesome. And then we got to be seniors and we were like, we're going to change it up because it's our year. And then we were like, we got to go back. We got to go back to what we started with.
Well, we should say, right, we had a guy when we first got there who was a pretty legit DJ. He was able to master and remaster songs and mix things together, which at the time there weren't like many computer programs for that. And I think he put a lot of time into it. So, and you're 100% right. The first time we came out onto the field at home, first of all, it was like February 21st at 8:00 at night in upstate New York. It was freezing. So that's the first thing you're thinking about. The second thing is versus St. John Fisher, you hit the turf and you hear Eminence Front, which again, at the time, not something I was really into. I don't think it was something you were really into. If I hear that song today, if I hear it casually, the hair on the back of my neck stands up.
Yeah. Immediate mindset shift.
I like my face changes when I hear Eminence Front, and if I was sitting anywhere on a beach, I would get fired up. And that's the power, I think, of music in your routine. It's really like Pavlovian, you know, it snaps you into something. And whether you know it or like it or not, it's the soundtrack of your sport or of your sporting, or for us of Nazareth lacrosse, the soundtrack of Nazareth lacrosse, or the soundtrack of our season. Those songs bring back memories for me. And
Till I Collapse, it's powerful. Eminem. You know, those songs that we had on that playlist were like forever mean something. Even when I use them in my spin classes now, I still have like, that is my mentality. And, you know, whether you're an athlete or not, the music is such a driver of energy. And that's one thing that I think that's what we're talking about, right? That's like the blanket idea, is that where do you get your energy from to complete the task at hand? Or if you know that you're entering into a challenging moment, how do you set yourself up? What sort of vibe do you create with the music? And even when I'm teaching cycling classes, I talk a lot to the athletes that I'm training about the music. I talk to them about the music. I talk to them about putting themselves in the music. I talk about matching the intensity of the music. And that's one thing that was really cool about having Eminence Front. And if you haven't heard the song Eminence Front by The Who and you're listening to this, go listen to it, because it's like this smooth, confident vibe that we used to come out of the locker room to. It's not hard hitting, it's not aggressive, it's just freaking smooth. And that was sort of our mantra. Like that was our swag when we came out. And so when I'm teaching my classes, I'm trying to connect not only people's minds and hearts with the music, but I'm also connecting that vibe with the work that we're doing, right? And we're creating this triangle of this circle of effort where they are feeding off of this energy to get the most out of themselves. And that's what we were doing with that pregame mix.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to think about it, that you can connect your mind and your heart to a song. And ultimately what it does is it transforms your mindset within the task that you're doing, and hopefully creates a memory.
Right.
Hopefully. And
at least a moment.
And for me, and I think I can speak for both of us really, because we talk about this often. The best thing about sports that translates into life is all you're really doing as you go through your day to day is trying to create a lasting memory that you can look back on and say, that was great. I loved that. I would love to do that again. And you might not ever capture it again, but you have that one memory or that one moment that it all connected for you. And it's, maybe it's the movies that kind of do this to us, but the soundtrack that we have of our lives, it's meaningful, and it plays a part in our day-to-day routine, or it just plays a part in how we think sometimes. So I find the music thing to be really, really interesting, and the same idea with post-game. So pre-game, you're trying to get your mindset in a certain way to go into battle and go into play and get your energy focused on the task. Post-game, it's like a release of emotion. Now let's talk about wins. After a loss, you're probably not listening to anything.
Silence.
After a win, I would think most teams probably have their go-to song. Ours was
Queen, Another One Bites the Dust. Let's go.
That's
go.
Right. And again, I hear that song and I have some at this point false gratification. Something terrible could be happening to me, and I hear that song and I'm like, yep, just won. Just had a win.
We just victory. Immediate.
It's an immediate win for me.
The beauty of Eminence Front by The Who and Queen, Another One Bites the Dust, when you're thinking about how we relate to it, is that maybe we had heard those songs before. We didn't love those songs before. We didn't feel those songs before. Somebody else taught us how to feel those songs, right? Somebody else attached joy to it and purpose to it and enrolled us in that joy and that purpose. And now those are songs that we love, right? That is so influential when you're thinking about leadership and how if you communicate a why and a purpose behind something, you can get buy-in from those who are following you. But there has to be that connection. You have to create that connection, right? So many people function in this world on, I expect you to do what I ask you to do and just trust me. Just trust me. It's like, well, why? Why should I just trust you? Why can't you show me the value in what you are telling me, right? And being able to communicate and show that value, I think, is one of the reasons why we bought into our program, why we bought into that Nazareth life in lacrosse, and why small things like these songs mean so much to us right now. If I'm teaching a spin class and I put on Another One Bites the Dust, I tell them why it's special to me, right? And because I just have to say it, right? It just means that much. So there's a lot of layers to that as we talk about leadership and we talk about being a leader and being someone who can recruit and earn followership. There's a lot of layers to that.
Well, I hope that in this discussion that anyone listening can find some value to maybe some of the things that we're thinking about and how we create routines, and that idea of being flexible, having some emotional flexibility, really some emotional stamina too, to get through a day where things are inevitably going to not go exactly how you planned. And I think in really reflecting on that, I'm hopeful that this conversation can help other people create positive routines and feel good about things, even when they might not go exactly the way they were thinking.
Yeah. And when in doubt, go sweat a little bit. It's the best way to reconnect, recenter.
Or eat pasta.
Or sweat while eating pasta.
All right, gentlemen, let's get to it. Snake in the draft. What it do, baby? Fired up to be back again with the fellas. So here's the thing, Jordan, you kind of gave it away a little bit. You didn't even know what it was going to be today. But it's kind of on brand what you were talking about a little earlier, Francis, you too, with some of the things we like to watch. So the topic this week is best sports movies. I'm going to give you 9. Yep. It was tough to whittle it down. But Jordy, we're going to see really how big of a fan you are of Friday Night Lights and if this type applies to you. So without further ado, I'm just going to send it to the boys in the chat so we have it. So here's the list so far. So Remember the Titans, Field of Dreams, Rocky, Miracle, Friday Night Lights, the movie, the original Friday Night Lights, Hoosiers, Sandlot, Glory Road, and Rudy. All right, so this is how we're going to do it. Francis, I'm going to break it down slow for you. It's going to go you're
Guys,
first.
I know the game now. All right, I know it.
You're now a snake expert. All right, so I'll do it fast. It goes FJS, S, J, F, F, J, S. You got that? All right, perfect. So we're going to start Francis, Jordan, then it's going to come back to me for 2, and then we're going to go back to Jordy again. So all you, Francis, the floor is yours, sir. What is your favorite sports movie?
Oh, man, this is
list?
tough. It's between two movies right now. But I think I'm going to have to give the nod to Coach Boone and the Titans of T.C. Williams. Remember the Titans.
Great movie. One of those, if it's on any channel, you have to turn it on.
Yeah. And if you don't turn it on, then I'm going to break my foot off in your John Brown hind parts, and then you'll run a mile.
It could be Game 7. I tell people this all the time. Game 7 of the NBA Finals, or the Super Bowl could be on, and I'll be with my dad. He'll be like, "Oh, let me just flip to this real quick," and it's like, "Remember the Titans" or Forrest Gump. I'm like, "No, go back to the finals. We can only watch once, for the first time." And he's like, "Oh no, it's the part where they're running through the graveyard. Like, we gotta watch this." So, great movie, great choice, Jordan.
Pat outside,
sir. Pat outside, good guy. Shout out.
Shout out, Pat outside. All right, so I got one here. Well, yeah, so I'm stuck between Friday Night Lights and Rocky. So here's why. I love every Rocky movie. I have a list of I have a ranking of all the Rocky movies. And let me tell you something. The new Rocky movies, the Creed
they're good.
Movies, amazing.
So good.
Very good.
That's like me and my dad, like Rocky. We started watching those Rocky movies when I was probably a little too young to watch those Rocky movies. So I have a good place in my heart for Rocky. Yeah, I'm going Rocky. I know I'm wearing Friday Night Lights shirt, but I'm going Rocky.
Wow.
I got to do it.
Wow.
I got to do it.
Don't tell
He's
Ruby
an icon.
Miles.
I'm hoping it's still on the board.
Let me tell you what. I'm going to spoil it right now. That's my number 1. Friday Night Lights. I love Friday Night Lights. Great movie. Incredibly quotable. Just a fun one to watch before any sports season to fire you up when you're in high school, middle school, even in college, I'm sure as well. So that's number one for me.
Wait, Shawnee, wait. I have a funny Friday Night Lights movie. Movie story. So I love Friday Night Lights, the movie. One of my favorite movies. Had to go Rocky, obviously. The show is my all-time favorite show. If it was a show, it would be no question. Friday Night Lights, the movie, the first time I saw it, Francis and I watched it in like a common area in a dorm room. We did not know. Yeah. We did not know, or at least I didn't, and you didn't tell me if you did, that they lost the last game. So we watched, talk about pregame routines. We're watching this movie the night before a game, getting like so fired up, and then they lost at the end. So
how could you lose?
I went to bed like, oh man, I don't know how tomorrow's gonna go.
Francis would know. Dallas Carter beat him in the championship game.
Dallas Carter, that's right.
Yeah, sneaky Tim McGraw in there. Being a crazy booze bag dad, sketchy guy.
babies and memories.
Crazy. Great movie. So I'm gonna go with a pretty underrated one. It's on the list because I love this movie. Great movie. Glory Road. Awesome flick. That's gonna be my second. Rounded out football and basketball. Good movie.
Okay.
Jordy, back to you.
All right. I am going to go with the classic Gene Hackman Hoosiers. As some of you know who've been listening the past couple episodes, I coach basketball, high school basketball. I've actually been coaching basketball in general for 10 years now, which is crazy to say out loud. But the freshman coach in our program shows Hoosiers his first practice every year, which I think is so cool. And everybody loves that just legendary scene where Gene Hackman, they get to the big, county center or state center, and, the kids walk in, there's only like 7 of them, and he measures the hoop. He says, yep, it's 10 feet, just like the one we have back in Hickory. It's just such a legendary, talk about quotable, legendary movie. Got to go Hoosiers.
I have a confession to make.
Great movie.
Don't say it.
I've never.
What?
I've never seen Hoosiers in its entirety. I've seen bits and pieces. I've never watched it in its entirety. I just want everybody to know that.
You've seen some.
I've seen some.
Okay. I was worried. We're going to have to dock you a draft pick if you had yet to see it. That's good. I need to see some.
I think I'm up for 2. I got 2 picks coming up.
You do. 2 picks.
Let's go. Honestly, there's only 3 movies that I want to like hold and to keep on this list, and I'm about to get all 3 of them. So I've got Remember the Titans already. Miracle is, I will cry when I watch that movie every single time, without fail. We sat on the bus. We were traveling to play Cortland one day, and we sat on the bus and we told our coach we're not getting off the bus until we watch the end of the movie. we watched the end of that movie. I'll watch it any day with anyone. Amazing feeling. Lake Placid forever. Miracle. And then Rudy.
Great line.
Give me Rudy.
Great. You know what's a great line in Miracle, Francis? You know what's a great line in Miracle? The Saints on throwaway game up in Rochester.
I remember watching that game or that movie in the theater in Rochester, and everybody's like, hey, they mentioned us. Childhood classic, Rudy. Gotta have it. I was a big Notre Dame fan for a long time just because of the movie Rudy. No other connection. Yeah. RTT, Miracle, and Rudy. I'm done. See ya.
That's good. That's a nice couple right there. I'm So I'm gonna go. What's left? Field of Dreams is the only one left, or Jordy? Do
Field
you
of
go?
Dreams, Sandlot.
Jordan, you're up. I'm sorry. You're up, sir. Field of Dreams or Sandlot? Baseball, right up your alley.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wouldn't you know it? The two
big Cleveland
baseball
fan
movies
here.
are last. Yeah. Huge fan of Cleveland. Follow them a lot. I think their manager is. I don't know. I mean, this is a win-win. You didn't put any bad ones on this list, as you always do. I'm gonna go Sandlot just because I'm more familiar with it, and I think it's hilarious. And I think still I have a hard time placing like what time period it is, like just the way they're dressed. Yeah,
50s,
like but
late
then
50s.
yeah, but then when they're older. Is it the 80s?
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Because it's kind of like I don't know. I have a hard time with it, but the
getting in the weeds here.
Yeah, I'm getting in the weeds a little bit. Just generally very quotable, funny characters. You know, Benny the Jet, the kid with the glasses who makes the elaborate scheme to kiss the lifeguard. Just there's a lot of like subplots there that are really fun to follow. I could get down with Sandlot.
It's a good one. And that's going to leave me Field of Dreams. Great movie. An all-time classic. Again, I had to condense this list as best I could. I tried to keep it, strictly sports the whole time. I mean, you could do another lot. I mean, there's a ton of great ones. Jordy's a big Little Giants fan.
Favorite movie not on the list.
Caddyshack.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's do an honorable mention. Everybody get one honorable mention pick. Francis, you go first. You get one honorable mention pick.
Mighty Ducks 2. Got to be Mighty Ducks 2. Very in line with Miracle, right? Same sort of idea. Junior Goodwill Games.
How many times did you and I watch the trilogy together? All three one day.
Probably as many times as we've watched, Hopkins versus Virginia circa 2002.
Yeah.
Too many to count. Just a lot.
Sean, what's your honorable mention?
Oh, man, that's tough. There's a ton. I could name a ton. I think, again, I was trying to be strictly sports all the time, but The Fighter, great movie. Pride of Lowell, that's an awesome one. It's newer too. I tried to keep a little more vintage, but an awesome flick.
I am going to shout out the ladies and go with League of Their Own.
Oh, how did I forget about that?
How did I miss that?
Wow. Agreed.
I thought that movie to me it's like a step off of Forrest Gump. Like there's a lot of like historical context to it. There's not as obviously Forrest Gump literally spans generations of history, which is maybe one off is strong, but the historical context behind League of Their Own and how sport was, a factor in such a significant time in America, and it happened to be women leading the charge on that, I think is just so cool. And not to mention Madonna in that movie.
All the way May.
Where was she from? Or was that Rosie O'Donnell? Where was she from? Peekskill. She had Peekskill on her jersey.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Madonna, I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong on that. It might have been Rosie. But either way.
How many players can you name from the Rockford Peaches? Go.
Dottie.
Dottie what?
Henson?
Yep.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Dottie Henson.
Played by.
That was Gina Davis, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Don't get too impressed because I don't know if I know any of the other ones.
I'm going to cheat.
He's looking it up.
Sean's looking it up.
Wide-eyed look. What was your sister's name?
Something Henson. I mean, that's for sure.
Kit.
Kit.
What was Rosie O'Donnell's name?
I don't remember. I really don't. I don't remember. I liked it. I liked the movie a lot. I don't remember their names. I need a refresher. Shame on me, really, for like making such a big deal of it.
There's all
Great
the way
movie,
May.
though. Shame on me for forgetting it.
Betty Spaghetti.
Betty Spaghetti. Yeah.
I remember Tom Hanks was Jimmy Dugan.
Yep.
Jimmy Dugan.
Right.
That's a great movie.
Is that right? Yeah.
The woman who played Kit Henson was also in another sports movie, surfing movie with Keanu Reeves.
No way. Point Break.
Right? Point Break.
That movie, that doesn't count as a sports movie. Funny enough, that was the first movie when I got sent home, my office closed right at the beginning of quarantine. First movie I watched that night, Point Break. Had never seen it before. Saw it in March. Excellent movie.
So metaphor. I'll say this. My honorable mention will either be what I just said.
Muted? He's muted.
Oh, I'm not muted. My honorable mention will be what I just said because of all the sentimental value and historical context, or Blades of Glory because it is hilarious. And that I can stand behind.
I'm going to skate to one song and one song only.
That's right. Shawnee, excellent game as always. Francis.
Sean, I won tonight.
Francis, enjoy the rest. Whoa.
I definitely won tonight. Come on.
He might
his strongest draft yet.
He might have won. Yeah, well, you know what? When you know the rules, it's easier to play.
Well, all my movies can bring you to tears, so there you go.
It brings me to tears that you just figured out what a snake draft was tonight.
And that I haven't seen Hoosiers or Field of Dreams.
We got some homework to do, people. We got some homework to do. On behalf of the Time and Space podcast, I almost said Comcast, free advertising. On behalf of the Time and Space
sponsored
podcast.
by Comcast.
No free advertising. Max Silverlick said it. On behalf of the Time and Space podcast, please take a look at our YouTube channel, our Spotify station, and our Apple podcast station. I'm Jordan Hirsch. That's Francis Donald, Sean Tandy, Big W Productions. See you next week.